Hello again and welcome to another edition of Newsmaker of the Week. I'm Leon Worden and I'm pleased to welcome this week's Newsmaker, the Superintendent of the Newhall School District, Paul Cordeiro. Welcome back.
I'm pleased to be back.
Now, school's starting. What are you excited about this year?
A lot of things. I'm excited that the district continues to show a lot of success in its results for kids. It means that our hard work around what's fundamental to kids, mathematics, science, English, reading and writing, and all the arts that we put into our programs. The exciting part is to see them come back and to reintroduce them to the kids and to see how excited the kids are and how engaged they are. We work really hard in transforming our instructional program to maximize student investment in and engagement in their work. So when a student comes up to you and you visit a class, you're a complete stranger, and they say, I really want to show you this. Can I show you this? There's a motivation behind that, and that doesn't happen organically. It happens with the nurturing and the facilitation of those great teachers we have.
You know, I got to say, we're here in Newhall, and I was just driving by Newhall Elementary yesterday as the bell rang, and you see this swarm of kids walking out of this brand new two-story building. Right. And time flies. I don't know, was it last year or this year when it was completed? But you got a two-story building there. We never had anything like that when I was growing up here and going to school. You know, we had one-story buildings, a two-story building. It was really impressive seeing those kids coming out of there. Have you worked in a district before that had two-story buildings?
Oh, sure, I have, and there are many in Los Angeles and elsewhere. I think what's more compelling, although a two-story building has its kind of profile, office building looks important.
Looks substantial.
It looks substantial, and it is. But the compelling thing about is that these kids have quality classroom facilities. Newhall for years was full of portable classrooms, and most of these weren't put together in a way that promised that they would last for years, and they were never made to last for years. Right. So thanks to the voters, Measure E, the folks who support our district, we were able to get rid of all those portables over at Newhall, as well as other schools. And in terms of the campus layout and yielding space for kids, open space to play, the two stories make sense. And the kids feel important and valued, and so do the teachers and the parents. So,
and all these changes you've been making at all these campuses, that's, of course, what we've been seeing going on at Orchard and Newhall and elsewhere. That's Measure E, as you said. Has Measure E now basically run its course? Has all that money been spent, pretty much?
Pretty much. The building program culminating with the completion of the Newhall Theater, which soon will be open, is done. There's still some money there for a technology replacement that we'll have. I commend the voters for supporting technology in the school district, even after the negative press that came out of LA Unified's kind of iPad debacle.
Oh yeah, the iPad thing.
But
yeah,
I'll tell you, thanks to the voters in Measure E, all of our 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders have their own computer all day long.
Really?
Our 1st, 2nd, and 3rd graders and our kindergartners have two kids to access every computer. It's an amazing level of access, amazing technology, not just the computers, but the smart boards and other wonderful tech devices that make learning more accessible to kids. It's been transformative, and yes, the voters have funded that too.
I remember I had a typewriter at Hart. That was pretty cool. And we weren't up to Selectrics yet then, but you know. But a computer for everybody, that's neat. And you mentioned the auditorium. Let's talk a little bit about that. The auditorium, people driving by on Walnut Street have seen this auditorium basically sitting vacant since about 1975, I think it was.
Right.
And now you've been doing something with it. Tell us about that.
Well, it's kind of a long road, okay? There's some really great people in this community who have wanted to see that auditorium come back to life. For years and years, it was a warehouse. When I was here as assistant superintendent from 2000 to 2005, it was a really interesting, dark place in a warehouse. And already then, there were folks behind the Everett Theater Arts for Children. You might have heard that phrase before.
About the last 20-some years.
Yeah, well, let's just say this. They got a nice grant to quick retrofit the building, but raising millions of dollars it would need to be reborn was just something that wasn't going to happen with periodic fundraisers. Right. So once again, the parents, the voters in this district spoke. You know, you talk about extraordinary events in terms of Measure E, beyond just replacing old portables, to say, okay, we're going to put a computer in every 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders' hands, and we all want to get behind renovating this theater at nearly $5 million. you know, that was a transformative gift, and that's the foresight of the community, and to me, a real vote of support for the district's excellence. So now, it's going to come back not as an auditorium or as a multi-purpose room. It's a full-fledged performance venue, state-of-the-art technology. It's gorgeous inside. The community will soon have a chance to be introduced to it. But I'm excited to bring this asset to all of our schools and to the community.
And it's not something that you normally see at an elementary school. I mean, you've got basically at least a high school caliber theater, you know, not terribly unlike, you know, it's what, 500 seats, right?
About 537, 538.
500 some. And so we've got a smaller theaters in Newhall. We've got, you know, the Hart Auditorium at 1,000, and the PAC at the Performing Arts Center at College of the Kings at 900. You're coming in at 500. So I would imagine you would stage different kinds of performances there than you have at a smaller or a larger theater.
Well, we're definitely going to fill a niche for sure. And yes, it's a real theater performance venue, like I said. And I think in terms of the board's foresight on this as a community asset, you know, there's going to be a big emphasis on youth programming. We have so many youth performing groups in this community that need a place to perform, but there will be other groups that aren't youth groups that will be performing there as well. So it offers less intimacy than something downtown there. But certainly a lot more than a larger venue. I also think it has the cachet of being a grand old building. You know, the outer shell is still there. Nothing will ever destroy that, by the way. It's made of years and years of very hardened, reinforced concrete.
Yeah, that monumental New Deal art style building.
Maybe stripped down to a degree, but still the same type of Art Deco thing that's never going to go away.
And so got the old projectors.
That's what's so cool too. There's some homage to the past, and I'm understanding that William S. Hart liked to come and show some of his movies there. So the projector windows are still there, and I thought it was great that we kept them, because you always want to see kind of a connection to a bygone era, but go forward and understand that this is a reborn place, and it's going to make its own history. Yeah,
and I guess the point there, I don't know if anybody caught it, but the point being that it's not just for the school community, it's also for the arts community at large.
Exactly. So it's this symbiosis. Newhall School naturally will use it. Our other schools will also be using it for various things. But then the community use beyond that, thanks to our theater manager, Tom Lund, and hopefully emerging partnerships with the city and CalArts, we're going to see community use. We're going to see folks come into that auditorium who don't have kids in school, but they're going to see a beautiful place. And I like the idea of getting people who don't have kids in school anymore kind of renewed on the aspect that kids are really important assets to the community and that we need to make them a priority.
And it seems to me that I think I'm seeing more kind of a renewed interest in the arts. I mean, you know, we've heard about STEM for the last several years. You know, science, technology, and what am I missing? Math and
engineering.
Engineering. That's
art,
and that's the I knew the
math.
They've
thrown in A. Now it's STEAM.
And so then it became STEAM to throw the art throw an acknowledgement to the arts in there. But it seems to me that we're I could be imagining it, but it seems to me that we're putting more emphasis on the arts. And I know that Newhall, you have, I guess it would be wrong to call Newhall School an arts magnet school, I guess, but it's got some kind of emphasis on it.
Yeah, I think I would say this about Newhall School. It's kind of, you might say, our pioneer or our scout school in terms of maximizing, the word we use is integration, the integration of arts and infusing arts in all aspects of our core subject instruction. But I will say that with credentialed our visual arts teachers that we have that work district-wide, that we're already making inroads at the other sites with it. But certainly Newhall, as a kind of a focus of attention now with the theater, and then our other partnerships that we have, has been involved in the Kennedy Arts Program, brought to us through College of the Canyons. Other districts, I will say to their credit, are involved in it too. But certainly opportunistic teaching that integrates, that brings in visual and performing arts to optimize reading and math and writing is a great thing, and that's what we're pursuing at Newhall, and then hopefully at the other schools.
Yeah, you know, one thing that I don't want to focus just on Newhall School, but in the Newhall community, Newhall School, McGrath School, where you have a substantial minority population, I guess Orchard also. One thing that, frankly, I haven't paid attention to since the voters decided to do it last November, but last November the voters of California decided to restore bilingual education after about 25 years under the Ron Unz initiative, 25 years of English immersion, language immersion.
Prop 227.
And just to be clear, when we say bilingual education, I mean, basically teaching English language learners their core subjects like math and science in their home language, which generally here means Spanish, but I would imagine also Korean on the west side.
Conceivably, sure.
Until such time as they become proficient enough in English to transition into all English language instruction.
Right.
So, I haven't paid any attention since November. What's been going on? Are you making changes? What's the guidance? What's happening? I mean, it seems like it could be a sea change again.
Conceivably. I'm a person who was a bilingual teacher in LA Unified starting in 1979. I taught 6th grade and I taught English reading and Spanish reading. I taught in both languages. It was a very complicated thing to do to sustain that all the way up. It certainly is an option. But what I like to do is focus on what results we're attaining for kids in terms of English proficiency, because both bilingual ed and non-bilingual ed have an aspiration for all kids to become proficient in their own languages. So at this point, the district has a pretty distinguished record of elevating achievement to the highest. We also have a very sustained effort going on right now to elevate students who are economically disadvantaged English learners through the mandate, through the state program, the Local Control Accountability Plan, to elevate their learning too. So we're being very strategic in our thinking about that. I will say at this point that the board is not contemplating reintroducing bilingual education into the district.
So you don't have, what is the mandate? I mean, you don't.
Well, the mandate, I mean, the board.
I don't know, I'm going in this blind. These are not rhetorical questions here.
No,
I don't
understand.
know
No, the
what's
districts
happening.
can contemplate going into bilingual ed. They can contemplate going into what we call dual language immersion programs. A lot of these are popular. Some of them are good. A lot of them aren't because they're not strategically thought out, and they're not. They're great in concept. But there are some good ones around there, and it could be that's something in the future the board wants to do. I'm not saying the board isn't interested in it, but just remember this, Leon, we're in this sea change of education in California, okay? We have new standards, new tests, new accountability systems, and now we have a new way of rating school performance called the California School Dashboard. In my 38 years of education, there's never been an era of more rapid change than this, and I've seen all the changes. So I would say, being what we do in Newhall, which is to work strategically, that we need to finish implementing all of those things, changes in math, changes in writing, changes in science, changes in science, in fact, a lot of that going on. So much changes at so many levels. We want to be really good at those changes. We want to step back, and I think the board will step back and say, well, what more would it like to do?
So this ballot measure did not mandate a specific teaching methodology?
No.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
No, it didn't say you have to go back to that.
Okay.
As a person who was a bilingual teacher, yes, it mandated bilingual education when there were certain numbers of English learners in grade levels in the classrooms, and the only way that you could get around that was actually applying to the State Board of Education for a waiver that says, we have an alternative plan, would you please approve it? So bilingual ed was more the rule than the exception in its era. So it's not saying you will do anymore, it says you can do, and here are some different models that you can do.
Okay. Now, I know that Newhall and McGrath are always off the chart, well, on the charts, but at the top of the charts on standardized tests. Tell me about this new change with respect to testing.
Well, so up until 3 years ago, we just finished our 3rd year under a new testing system called the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress, which is quite a mouthful. Under the California Standards Test, which was with us for a long time, those were multiple choice tests, machine scored. Because they were multiple choice tests, I think in terms of their level of rigor, one would argue that they perhaps could be more rigorous in a different testing format. But they weren't, but they were very serviceable and economically serviceable too. So under the new testing system, with the sophistication of technology now, we can actually add a lot more rigor to these tests. We can have students do writing as a part of the test. We can have them do all kinds of different calculations, not your typical do the calculation for division multiplication, but problem solving, something that you and I used to dread as math students, the dreaded problem solving. All that can be incorporated into that testing system.
I was more into English myself.
Yeah, okay, well I think that's in agreement with what I just said, actually. Those things are incorporated into these tests. These tests are what they call adaptive. So as Leon takes the test and it says that you're going pretty well, it moves you up to the next level of questions, or if Leon is struggling, they're going to move you back a little bit and see where you can start from there. So they're very sophisticated. And more important than sophistication is that they're much more rigorous in terms of what they're asking kids to do. So we just finished our 3rd year of testing. Our first 2 years were stellar. We had, and they're tested in grades 3 through 6, so reading and mathematics. So our first 2 years of testing, we had the highest scores in the Valley for every grade and every subject, including the science test, which is now defunct, and they're working on a new one. So we're aware of the latest test results that came out, but the state has embargoed, that is, not released the results yet, so I can't comment on that. But I can tell you that as a district that has worked strategically, both during my tenure here and when I was here before, you know, there's a reason that we're doing so well, and it's because of the way we work.
What are some of the challenging things about the new changes? You know, you mentioned math and science.
Yeah, I think the challenging thing is for teachers, and it's the rapidity of change.
Yeah.
Okay, this goes on teachers, all right? So when I talk about working strategically, I can't fail to mention how proud I am of our teachers' willingness to embrace these changes and their enthusiasm around the difficulty of transitioning. Because, you know, just going into last year, we started a great new math program, 2 new math programs. Going into this year, we're starting a new reading program. And we're working with them on changes in science and changes in how we work with English learners. So it's the rapidity of change that's been so challenging. But it's been, you know, on our teachers to their credit and our administrators to their credit to do what we do in Newhall. We get on it and we go.
And besides just the rapidity of the change, which is unfortunate, I mean, you know, everybody in Sacramento is an expert. So what are your opinions about the actual changes that you're having to make?
Well, I think anything that challenges kids to think at a higher level, to think conceptually, anything that embraces the idea of kids working together, of making learning more, to use a hackneyed word, relevant to the real world, those things are built into these changes. So I applaud them, and I applaud the higher level of rigor. But within our system, our challenge is to make sure that every kid gets it. And I will also say this as a credit to the district, the thing that I think is a critical difference in our performance also is our emphasis on writing. We've had a homegrown writing program for over 10 years now. And the writing program connects kindergarten up through 6th grade and is very astute in terms of what its emphases are and how we teach writing. I think it makes Newhall's program quite unique. And I also think to the extent that writing is among the highest levels of thinking skills that we have, thought to print, that it's really the driver behind our success. And by the way, there's a lot more writing that we have to do in mathematics now, too.
You know, I have to ask you something. I've been doing this show for a little while now, and in the last couple of years, I've heard superintendents talk about their districts as if they're basically trying to sell people on how great the district is. And that's something that we've really seen just in the last couple of years. Really, I guess all the districts, or at least some of the districts, trying to attract people who don't necessarily live in the traditional attendance boundaries of the district. Why is that? Why do we see that now?
I think it's just the sea change in public education, okay? I mean, the greatest number of charter schools are in California. The charter school, quote, movement, I wish I could think of a different word, is well-financed, well-represented in Sacramento. It has a philosophy that says there should be all kinds of different choices in schools. And these are public schools, okay? So that's kind of hastened this concept of public school choice. So that's not going to go away.
So the charter schools are attracting kids from
they can attract kids from anywhere they want.
Anywhere.
And I think that because of that, it's raised everybody's antenna around the need to, number one, be really good. And number two, if you're really good, then you have a story to tell that's compelling for those who are now consumers of education. And so, look, I can promote the district all I want, but if I have nothing to sell, as in how well we're performing, that's going to be a little harder for me.
I would imagine that making a decision to attend something other than just your neighborhood school, that would be the person who is more mobile and probably more upwardly mobile than other folks who might not have the same opportunity. So as we're seeing this kind of you know,
Mobility.
this dynamic, this mobility. How are we ensuring that people who aren't that mobile or upwardly mobile are being served and receiving a quality education?
Okay. First of all, yes, we've had, before we started talking about promoting, marketing schools and all that, we've had open enrollment in the district for years, which allows people to say, I'd like to go over here, over there. The greatest separation of distance in our district would be between McGrath over here and Oak Hills way over there off Valencia. So we've had open enrollment. But mostly these families go to their local school. But their decision to go to the local school really is because we obsess on making all of our schools great in the district. It's elementary school. I keep telling people this. You want a boutique school, but think about what we're about for these kids who come to us at 5 years old and leave us about 10 or 11. They need foundational skills. They need to be really proficient in reading and writing and math and science. The art enhances all of that. And so, we focus on making all of our schools great. And I think that's the story. The other thing relationally is people like their neighborhood school. Most people by polling over the years have said, well, I have problems with public education, but I like my neighborhood school. So I don't think the neighborhood school concept is lost. I think people would still prefer to do that, but there's still going to be some mobility. There's still going to be folks. And whether that cuts through kind of class lines or economic means lines, I don't have any data to tell you that.
And then on the flip
Everybody's
side of
living a
that, people point to me
complicated
and say, product of the Newhall School District. You don't want to turn out like that. But quickly, I'm hearing, and I hear this every 10 years, so I haven't really paid much attention, but aligning calendars with the Hart District. What's happening?
Well, first of all, I appreciate the passion of those who would like to see 100% alignment. There are good parents and they're supportive parents in our district, the ones who would like to see the 100% aligned. The story they want to tell is that, we have working parent issues. We need a lot more family time. I'm all for family time. I'm all for families, period, if we can just keep them together. But I'll tell you this, the lens that the board has been looking through in terms of alignment, and this isn't the first time it's come up, as you pointed out, is simply this: what's best for kids? And it's true that if you have a long summer, you're going to see some loss of learning, period. It's documented in research, and it's particularly marked for kids, low-income kids and poor kids. Having said that, though, the board is not unsympathetic toward seeing that it can achieve some greater alignment. I know that the teachers union has been actively polling its rank and file about calendars, and I'll remind everybody that whatever you want to believe or not believe or like or dislike, that the calendars are collectively bargained. They're within the scope of bargaining. So we sit down at the bargaining table with the representative agents and we go through the calendars and we come up with a decision. Yes, the board has to agree, and yes, the teachers union has to agree. Does the concerns of the parents who want 100% alignment, are they falling on deaf ears? I don't think so necessarily, and no, I think it's input. It's good input, and I think as we develop an 18-19 calendar for the next year, I think there will be an eye on seeing how they can come together.
But ultimately, you're not going to have teachers if they don't agree to the calendar.
Well, that's true. So, look, I love our teachers. I find the leaders of our teachers union to be extremely reasonable and kid-oriented people. They get the idea that strong...
You've been a member of a teachers union. So.
I was active in one when I was in L.A., I'll tell you that. But the thing that we all need to understand, that to everybody's benefit is to have an excellent school district. That's where you back up from. Because when you have excellent school district, people get invested in it. When you don't, people leave the district. And when they leave the district, so leaves revenue and so leaves jobs and so leaves programs. So our union gets that. I know those teachers. I respect them. I've worked very well with them. Look, they're listening. The board is listening. The community wants to give its input. Those folks who came out and did that, again, I salute them because they're really good family people. And however this comes out after all this is done in terms of what a calendar is, we'll see what happens in terms of alignment.
And I don't know how soon we're going to see you on stage at the Newhall Family Theater for the Performing Arts.
I'm impressed that you remembered that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. But one thing I did learn about you recently is that you have a singing voice.
I really don't, honestly. Yeah, I don't know how you said that.
Yeah, you do. I mean, no. I heard you. You know that. Why don't you belt something out for us?
I don't think I can. A wandering minstrel I, a thing of shreds and patches, of ballad songs and snatches, a dreamy lullaby. My catalogue is long, I'm getting embarrassed, through every passion ranging, and to your humors changing, I tune my supple song. I tune my supple song. Homage to Gilbert and Sullivan. And I'm just, this is going to go out there. We'll see what happens.
All right. Paul Cordeiro, thank you for joining us. Thank you for that.
Pleasure.
Thank you for joining us. Missed any portion of this program, you can see it again and again and hear it again and again on scbtv.com. Check back here, Spectrum Channel 20, AT&T Uverse 99 for another Newsmaker of the Week.